So yeah, welcome to the kind of first of my 4 Let's Talk videos for the Fates of Ellerant campaign. I am once again stealing Craig's recording space, stealing our bedroom space for these little interlude sessions between what would be episode 23 and episode 24 of our most recent campaign. I feel it's only right to start these kind of mini videos, this mini series, with Eidolon himself, so Craig's character, not just because I'm stealing his recording space, but because he is kind of at the centre of everything in this campaign. Well, I say Eidolon's story is at the centre of everything in this campaign. Craig wrote me the Blighted Scourge, so I kind of had to put that the forefront, and as you've seen more recently and can see continuing throughout the games, that's going to get a lot more prevalent as it starts to infect everyone else's stories, and that's Craig's fault. But we're not going to talk about the Blighted Scourge, we're here to talk about Eidolon. Eidolon Daedalus, the Watchman of Aramba, that is certainly a unique character for Craig to be playing. Personality wise, he's not too dissimilar from a lot of the stuff I've seen Craig play. I've GM'd for Craig for quite some time, and he has kind of his niche of characters that he likes to play in terms of the personalities, and Eidolon's not too different from that, but he's different in a few ways, and those ways are quite big. First off, Eidolon is a monk. He is a Way of the Astral Self Monk. That is a class Craig has never touched before. I think it's a class that he's now pretty obsessed with, because of how Eidolon's worked in game and the stuff he's able to do in combat. Craig's always played more Craig has always played more martial classes, but he'd never touched monks before, and I think he's kind of fallen in love with them having played Eidolon. And I can definitely say I prefer him when he's got more stuff to do in combat. When he's got more RP utility, when he's got more combat utility, I feel like he's just got a much more diverse character. And when he plays simple characters, they are nice, but they tend to fit a niche. They're not very individual. They fill a hole in the party. And I prefer it when he plays something that's a little bit more unique, a little bit more diverse, a little bit more not challenging, but more, so that he has more to do and he can kind of feel that he's the focus rather than just filling in a role that someone else could fill. And I feel like that's where Eidolon kind of shines. But that's not the only way that Eidolon was a wee bit different, at least as we started the campaign. As normally with a lot of Craig's characters, he has this attachment. So like it's usually a love interest for him, or like a child or a family member that grounds his character to the story, grounds his character to the world, grounds his character to the narrative. It gives him a little bit of, well, it gives him something to care about, gives him something to fight for, and gives him a vulnerability should the need arise for the villain to take advantage of his character, and he never really had that when he started with Eidolon. He took the leap to start the campaign with his love interest, with his weakness, both his wife and his child already be dead, and put all the focus on Gairdra, put the focus on his villain, which made Eidolon very unique in terms of his story, in terms of his personality, in terms of his goals and ambitions, but it also meant that for Craig, there was nothing to ground Eidolon, and even I saw it. It was something we talked about quite a lot. He found that it was very difficult to play Eidolon when he didn't have that grounding thing. We needed to kind of try and find a way to ground him in the campaign, to get him involved, to make him care about the world outside of Aramba, because at the pace it was going, Eidolon's morals wouldn't change. He wouldn't warm up to the party, he wouldn't tell them anything, the secrets that lay beyond the wall would stay hidden forever, and he would just go back to live out his days as a soldier. And Craig didn't want that for the character. He wanted to see him develop, he wanted to see him break away from those ideals, and so we needed something to do that. And I thought hard about how to do this. I didn't really want to shove something in the hopes that it would work, and I didn't want to upstage a few of my other boys and their stories, so I kind of wanted just something to be in the background. And the solution for this actually came really, really quickly and really, really easily when the boys came to Summerhost and they met Amalia Gracie. So the character you guys will know as Emmy, who has had now several interactions with Eidolon So she was originally a throwaway NPC that I had made for the area of Summerhost who had some negative dispositions towards Marcusar, and she was going to bump into the party members, either Eidolon, Wolfric or Ranagash, and she was going to be like another way that they could get a perspective on the Green Hand, someone that they could go and talk to, that my party was good natured, so if they broke some of her pottery they would go and apologise, like they would be quite chivalric about it, and they were she was going to be like an in to get them information. But because of her interactions with Eidolon through that kind of dice roll, and then her subsequent interactions with him when Craig kind of went back to talk to her, we thought it's something we could play around with. It's something that we could progress. We could give him a friendship, start him building relationships other than Wolfric, Ranagash and Marcusar, and get him trusting someone outside of the wall, someone he could talk to that has no connections to the wall. They have no reason to care. And so Emmy fit that niche really, really well without stepping on anyone's toes in terms of a story, and she wasn't a main focus, so we could still have all the focus for Eidolon's story be on the Blight and on Gairdra, but she could be in the background helping Craig kind of ground himself and move forward with a lot of Eidolon's beliefs. Though, now that I've passively mentioned it, can't really talk about Eidolon without talking about the Blight. What can I say about the Blight that's not spoilers? Not much. The Blight that is inside of Eidolon, this kind of supernatural, extraterrestrial, interdimensional being that causes this infection, causes this plague, is certainly interesting. Craig pretty much gave me creative control over what and who or where that thing comes from, what it actually is, and it's been quite fun watching him try and piece that together, especially because he usually pulls on the wrong things, referencing Hillview and his obsession with his shoes going missing, or like when they went to the Temple of the Precursor and he was obsessed with the giant folk, despite actually writing me a bit in his backstory where the Precursors were just tall humanoids and he was trying to work out what they were. Like, it's been fun seeing him trying to piece it all together and piece out what this is, and that's going to slowly start to reveal itself over the next while. It's going to get a bit more involved. It's already started to get a bit more involved, but the Blight's definitely going to get a bit more involved, though I can't say much else because it's too much of a spoiler. But I definitely went big with it. It was either go big or go home, and I went as big as I could possibly go with it, and I think that's the only clue I'm going to give him, because I'm hoping to keep him guessing right up until the end, where Eidolon can finally take centre stage, remove himself from the sidelines, and see what's really been going on in his head.